What's up, guys? I'm posting a free private lesson where it was free for them, and then I'm posting it free for you here on YouTube. Let's get right into it.
Yeah. Okay, so the Ezekiel choke. So I actually do mine with 3 fingers in because usually the 4th finger kind of it stops my gi a little early and it lets from being able to turn. So I usually do mine from 3 fingers in. But the key to my Ezekiel choke is the setup, and it is very mean. But everyone wants to hide their chin. They want to tuck their chin and get really tight, and they want to shrug their shoulders up. They want to bring their arms in real close and tuck their chin real tight. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and go down. Yeah, I already hit record. You're good. I'll just edit out anything that's not. So this is mean, but this is what I found the best way is you can either open their head up with the back of your head, or you can keep their head open with your chin like right in their cheekbone. So if I get to mount, usually you come here, and then what my goal is going to be to open up your head initially. See how I got your head open? So it's like I started with the back of the head, and then I pried until we're locked up, and then I release my Ezekiel choke. Because the problem is if you have your chin tucked, and then I just go inside and go like this, and your chin is tucked, we get into this battle, which I don't want. So as I'm here, if you tuck your chin right now, the back of my head crowns the top of your head, and then I drive forward, and then there's a little gap that you don't want to go back into because it's so uncomfortable, right? And then the second option is literally digging like the center of your chin, like putting it right in the side of the cheekbone. Yeah, because as you go to tuck your chin, I'll go here. You see how mean it is? Yeah, and it's just part of the game of the Ezekiel. It's a very heavy pressure. It's almost like a suffocation thing until your Ezekiel choke sneaks in. There's a dude in the MMA, oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher his name. He's like 50 years old and he's still fighting. I don't know why. He does this to people from bottom mount. He puts his chin right here and he'll choke people with a baseball version of an Ezekiel choke with MMA gloves, and he'll choke dudes out and they'll tap. It's super crazy. So again, the key isn't really in the finish. I think the finish is easily workable. The setup is getting to it commonly is the hard part.
Yeah,
technically.
I always set up before I make.
And then people go here, and then we're hand fighting, and then they roll you, and we're fighting over there. If you can cause crazy pressure on people and find some way to turn my head or open my neck up, we can work on the finish. Okay. Afterwards. This part's the important part. So the first one.
Alright, guys, each time we end up chest to chest, the mic gets muffled, so I'm going to try to voice over it. So right here, I'm trying to tell her to put the back of her head on the top of my temple to crown my head to force my chin open, and I want her to stretch her whole body out and kind of use her entire body to lock it open. With my body locked open in this open chin position, right here you sneak the choke in and all the way across to the other side of the face, and now you can slide up with your knees in the armpits and then extend your arms for the finish. Right here I'm telling her to slide up and stretch her arms, there's the tap.
The power of the Ezekiel comes from my legs, and my arms just happen to be there. I'm inside my own gi, this slides over. Best case scenario is I get this on the far side of the neck, and then I'm extending for the finish.
So I'm reaching to have this on the mat, basically.
Yes, but so I'm here, I drive, their chin's open, I go inside. You can still do 4 fingers in if you want. Technically, I've seen people that can do it with 2. I prefer the 3 fingers, and then I make a really strong fist. I go, I throw it in, and then I slide up. And then I try to extend my arms straight.
I feel like that's why I've been having issues, because when I'm in mount, like I told you, I get swept a lot. So I don't know what the term is called, but I'll lock my feet on their legs.
Grapevine. Yeah, grapevine.
And I love it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I discovered that, but I was like, ooh, this is nice.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and then I try to get in there. And so I think maybe because I don't have the rest of my body up high enough, that's why I'm not really able to finish.
Yeah, exactly. So I think almost every choke should come from your hips. When I do cross collar chokes, I set my grips real strong, and then I throw basically my hips over my hands and then I drive my hips forward to finish it. For the Ezekiel choke, I want to get as high as I can on the monoslide, as high in the mount as I can, so that my knees are like basically like in their armpits. And then as I kind of do this motion where I'm like posturing straight up, I have the choke in and I do this and it closes that gap off a little bit before my arms even do anything. So also I'll do combinations where I'll start to throw an Ezekiel in, and then I'll get to high mount, and then people's hands will come up and defend, and I'll armbar them. Like I'll let go of the Ezekiel choke and I'll armbar them. So it leads to combos because now I'm in a higher position. Yes. So yeah, we'll do the chin variation now. Yeah, so we're here. So same thing, get really tight with a crossface.
So again, guys, we're here, chest to chest, with a crossface, and now we're doing the chin prying variation. So what we're going to do is you're going to find your own cheekbone and go right underneath it where your teeth are and the side of your cheeks are. And that's where you're going to place the base of your chin in your partner. So right below your cheekbone on your face, you're digging your chin in that little divot, prying their chin open, making it so that they can't get it back.
That's all it takes. Right? It's just,
like that one better.
yeah, I do too. It is more mean. It's more mean, but hey, this is a martial art where we try to break each other's limbs and choke each other unconscious. We do it in all good fun, but that's part of the game. That pressure style is like, the people that are really good at stuff like that, usually like, they're more threatening in tournament and they're more threatening in a real life scenario because they practice a little bit more.
I was gonna say, I feel like sometimes you can't be nice all the time with like your training partners.
100%.
It's gonna take them by surprise when someone is mean, you know?
Exactly. I'm gonna check that this is. Yeah, I'm just getting there. Yeah, but does that make sense? And then sliding the knees up, that makes sense?
Yeah, that's something I need to remember because again, like, hold on, can I show you? And maybe towards the end we can do like a roll or two.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Because I find myself always, and usually it's with Michael, and I feel so good. So I'm like, I don't know if he's letting me work or if I just this with a brown belt. So we're like this,
and then you grapevine him.
Yeah. And so I'm always doing this.
Yeah.
Alright guys, so now we're working from her mouth that she usually does where she grapevines, and she was showing me how she initially grapevines and crossfaces, and then she starts digging inside for the Ezekiel, and I'm trying to explain how, because she crossfaced me and my head's turned towards her, when she digs inside for the Ezekiel, I'm looking at it. So I can start defending because I'm watching it happen. She wanted to know about the defense, so what I'm going to do here is trap her crossface arm by putting my hand behind my head and roll her over. And then to escape the Ezekiel, I go over the choking arm and under the supporting arm, and then I pry my head out that gap that I just made by weaving through the arms.
That elbow behind my head, so I'll go over one arm and under the other, and I'll pop my head out the side. Yeah, so, but the problem is that if they know that, it's going to mess up that combo, because again, they were looking at you while you were setting that up, and then they were like, oh, okay, number one, stay safe. And then they get all tight, and then it's like, number two, roll them over. And then it's like, they're going to go through this like step-by-step process. Exactly. So either using the back of your head, prying their head open, and you know, sometimes you get your crossface in and you have to like drive like I've always heard it like, it's the same thing in like wrestling. For me, for this one's like landing a plane. Like you have to like get low and drive low and then keep them there and then fire it over the top.
By the time I'm down, they're already looking, at least not at me, but preferably.
Yes. So whether you're using your chin or the back of your head, turn their head away and get them stuck to where they're like, uh-oh. Like, because they're like stuck looking here and they can't finish that chin tuck because you're causing some type of pressure on this side of my face. So they can't fully tuck their chin. They're like exposed just enough so that your wrist can sneak under their neck. And then the second my wrist sneaks under, I slide up as high as I can. Sometimes I'll even throw like a leg over a shoulder or whatever, but I really want to get my knees under me because as I'm right here and I lock the Ezekiel choke, that's like all the power I have, because now I have to push my whole body off the mat to cause that extension. But if I'm able to kind of put weight on my elbows and slide my knees up, now I'm coming so much farther away.
Not that it had to be finished this way, but I always see it finished like lower to the mat. So I never even thought about sitting up.
Yeah.
Which is probably a key thing.
Yes, and also, so I do arm in Ezekiel's all the time too. So if I'm on your back, or if I was trying to do like a head and arm choke, so I'll show you both of you. Yeah. So when I have your back, we have our seatbelt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I take the underhook arm and I bring it up by your shoulder. Usually the underhook arm is kind of low because my choking arm is deep, so I can get for a good choke. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to the side a little bit. I can even like pivot off to the side and shoot my arm all the way up by your shoulder. And then I'll go inside my own gi and then come on the opposite side of your head here. So I go inside my own gi from the back, and then I go inside and I can show it, yeah.
That'll do it.
And that'll do it. But so for me though, the key is, especially against bigger guys, the second I'll usually connect my hands somehow and pull both my hands all the way through. The second my hand touches your shoulder and I grab inside the gi, my next focus is to walk my legs up. You see how it's more of, I didn't extend it all with my arms there. That was me getting my legs high and pushing you away. Same thing in mount. I got my legs high and I pushed you away by extending my hips.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
I like the dog.
Yeah. And then same thing with the head and arm choke from mount. If we were in,
Am I doing right now?
yeah, if we were in mount and I just walked your arm overhead and I started going for this choke where I'm trying to like drive forward and squeeze and do all this. Some people just are really hard to do this to, especially real big guys. And what I can do instead is I can turn you on your side, go inside my own gi, bring my hand right here, and then look, I can sit you in my lap and extend on the arm in Ezekiel. So I'm grabbing inside my gi. It's an Ezekiel choke. It's just your arm is inside it with your head.
Yeah, that really makes it where I can't see shit.
You can't see a fucking thing. Yeah, no, those are really good options, especially against people that like have broad shoulders and they don't want to like allow you to put their arm next to their neck and then choke them like that. You just slide all the way up to the side. You get your knees high, same thing as the first Ezekiel or the back one that I just showed. You get your knee, you slide up, you get your legs involved, and then you start extending. And
Can you show me that last one more time?
yeah. So when you're in mount and you have an underhook and you walk the underhook up, this is usually the battle that we play. Boom, I pin an arm, I have an underhook and I walk it all the way up. And I'm trying to push your arm all the way across your face and then pop off to this side and adjust my traditional choke. Arm choke. But there's a lot of people that are really big that it's just really hard to fight against their shoulder muscles and their back because they're trying to like pull this elbow like down towards the mat. Yeah, they're just resisting really hard. So what I'll do is I'll come off to the side and I'll drive my knee into their legs and their hips so that it kind of turns them on their side. And then right there, I'll go inside my own gi. Yeah, you're good. I'll go inside my own gi and then I'll basically just place this across your face. Because for this one, it's kind of counterintuitive because the regular Ezekiel, this goes across your neck and I extend and this arm chokes you. For the arm in Ezekiel, the arm that's wrapped around your neck, behind your neck, like the crossface arm, once I put this on the side of your face, when I extend, it's pulling my wrist into your throat on this side. Yeah, so when I'm here, boom, boom, and then I slide my knee really high, right? Again, if I were to stay low and just start extending, it can still work, but if you start trying to like almost like throw an elbow at me and do this, it's really hard to finish. So what I do is I slide my knee high and I get my knee involved. You see that? Yeah. Try to break our ribs with a goal.
Something.
Yes. So we can try both of those if you want to do them, the back one and the arm in one. But either way, yeah, we'll try the back one. Either way, even if you don't like either of those, that principle of getting your hips and your legs involved to do the Ezekiel. So we're here. What you're going to do is you can just place your hand on the mat and do a little shrimp real quick off to the side. Yeah. And then you're going to...
So here I'm walking her through how to do it. You shoot your underhook arm as high as possible, go inside your own gi, and then I tell her that you need to start shrimping so that you can get your leg that's around the back over my shoulder to help you use your legs to finish and extend. So she needs to shrimp, set me in her lap, cross her ankles, and extend for the finish.
That's all it takes. Yeah. Again, because we set up a choking mechanism and then we just got our legs involved. It's like my favorite way to think about chokes is like set up the choke and figure out a way to use the power of your hips and your legs, and it'll just mess people up.
Set up the choke, be a pretzel. Got it.
Yep, exactly.
I like the back one because the positions I find myself in the most is anywhere on the bottom.
Of course. Yep.
I'm still alive though.
Yeah.
It happens. I gotta survive. And then surprisingly, I'm able to get the back relatively easily.
And then finishing on the back is hard.
I can never really finish on the back, so
See?
I kind of use that on.
We'll go over that in a minute here too.
Best case scenario for me on the back is somehow I can get like a rear naked choke, or they go into turtle, which I really like because then I can
pancake them,
crucifix and everything.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
That's what I try. Doesn't always happen. And then side control. I can usually get my arm bars really good when I'm in side control. Other than that, I'm just surviving and
just surviving, not dying. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and then go ahead and try the head and arm one. So you're in mount. No, so this one's it's arm in but in mount. Yeah. So when you get to mount, boom, we're here. You're gonna try to pin one of my arms to the mat and then take an underhook on that arm. Yeah, it's whatever your preferable side is. Yep. And then usually.
Again, we're here chest to chest. We have a heavy crossface, we have an underhook, and we crawl the arm up. Once you get your head on the outside of the arm, you can start looking for the head and arm choke. But when I defend, i.e. example, like when I answer the phone like this, now it's time to start looking for that arm in Ezekiel. So what you're going to do is come off to the side, so I'm telling her to move her leg all the way off to the side, there it is, and now drive her knee into my hips and my legs to turn me away. So I used the example that now she did it. Now I'm telling her to slide her hand up. Again, we're doing arm in Ezekiel, so now we go inside of our own gi, and then we go behind the head, and then in front of the face. And then we're going to end up sliding up with our knees as high as we can and trying to sit them into our lap so that we can use our legs to extend. Right here, she's trying to slide her knee up, and then I'm telling her to step over with her other leg. Boom, there it is. She stepped over. Now she's sliding high. Now she needs to sit to her butt and start extending with her arms. There's the tap.
When people say you don't need muscle, I don't think that's true. Because I'm over here like, I can't even.
No, yeah, you 100% need muscle. Yeah. So I think that a big part of jiu-jitsu that probably should be taught a little more is how to use the strongest muscles in your body and like how to activate muscles and like how to use them effectively in a jiu-jitsu situation. Because I think a lot of times people are like, and then here you just get strong and then you just squeeze. But I'm like, that doesn't help people that have never done a triangle choke before. That doesn't help people that have never done a rear naked choke before. People say squeeze and they'll put their hand here and they'll just like flex their biceps. I'm like, that's not a rear naked choke.
That's what I do too, and it does not work.
No, it doesn't, because the second I get my choking mechanism, so I lock in a good rear naked choke, I get a supporting grip with my chin, and then I use my heels, my hips, my knees, my back, I twist. I do a bunch of things in the rear naked choke that most people don't. But I'm trying to gather and use as many muscle groups as possible to finish the choke. Just like the Ezekiel, once I get my choking mechanism in, I slide up as high as I can, and then I use my hips to help that extension to finish it for power. But yeah, a lot of people don't do that. And then what ends up happening is me and you are fighting arm for arm, and then it becomes a strength battle because we're fighting arm for arm rather than you getting your legs involved in your hips, because you can leg press more than I can bicep curl. So if you can get your legs involved better than I can, usually you're done for. I've fought many a good black belt that are like 130 pounds and they beat my ass because they're really good at holding me with their legs and controlling me with their legs somehow. Whether it's on their back or whether they're on top of me, their legs get involved and then it's like a death match.
It's so scary to me.
Yeah.
I love it, but like I hate being in it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Spider's like one step away from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I try that last one that we just did with you laying down and trying to turn your hips with like a little bit resistance?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know you're letting me work right now.
Yes, you're good. You're good. You're good.
When it comes into like the live rolls and everything, I'll try it and be like, oh my fucking god.
Oh my god, it didn't work. Yeah, I was planning on going little resistance on a lot of the stuff we were doing here, just like running it over. Cool. But yeah, so same thing, get an arm to the mat, right? So we're here, boom, take an underhook.
So here we have our heavy crossface, and then we're trying to work that underhook and pry the arm overhead. I believe here I'm telling her to use her body rather than just her arm to help force that arm overhead on that far side of the body, so that she can have that power to pry that arm right overhead. Usually I like to grab the wrist that's behind the neck too if I have that heavy crossface. Yeah, there it is. She brings the crossface in, and now she has the wrist, and now she forces the arm up. Once the arm's up, the head goes to the outside. I start defending, answering the phone. She starts coming off to the side, driving me up on my side. Right here, she needs to slide her grip a little bit deeper, and then she didn't, so it's a weird angle, but if she gets her legs involved, it won't matter. She throws the leg over, starts looking to cross her ankles, and she already got it.
Oh, your mic fell off.
That's why. Oh, you're good. That's why I was like, if you can try to slide your knee over my head.
So unfortunately, as I was trying to repin my mic to my lapel, I ended up turning it off and not noticing it. So I'm just going to end up voiceovering the rest of this. A concept that I told her we would go over a little later was going to be how to get chokes off the back. So same principle, I make my choking grip when I get my legs involved. But here I'm just showing her I make my choking grip and I make a supporting grip somehow, whether that's grabbing the far lapel, shooting the arm under the arm and behind the head, or for a bow and arrow style grip. It doesn't really matter what my grip is, I just have a choking grip and then a supporting grip, and then I drape my legs across the hips, I climb my legs up the body, shrimp, try to get the shoulder involved, and I extend for the finish. Gonna run this technique back one more time. I make a choking grip, I open the lapel. Right here I'm showing her the concept that I don't need to be high on the lapel. It's great, the higher you can get, the better. But live, sometimes it's hard to grab so high on the lapel. So I'm showing her you can even choke people with the very base of the lapel, anywhere from the top to the base. I cut my angle and I extend with my legs, and even if this fails, you always have the arm bar waiting right there for you. But again, the concept is going to be make your choking grip, make your supporting grip, and then get your legs involved, put them in your lap so you can use the power of your hips and lower body to finish chokes. Now here I'm having her do it so that we can get this concept down. She makes the choking grip over the top. Her secondary arm makes a supporting grip, whether it's on the far lapel, the pant leg, under the arm behind the head, whatever it may be. She goes for the bow and arrow option here. Bring the leg across the body initially, sit them into your lap, and try to get that leg that's on the top over my shoulder, cross the ankles if you can, and extend for the finish. She was surprised at how quickly that one came on, and so was I. Here I'm talking about when people defend, usually their hands are messing with your choking hand. So if your hand is high by the neck, the signals go off in the defending person's brain, letting them know that they need to stop this choke. But if you kind of settle and just place your choking grip a little bit down closer to the chest area and the heart, it's kind of not as threatening, and then you can immediately start looking for your angle and using your power of your hips and your legs. So again, we go leg across the lap. Boom, she makes the supporting grip, leg across the lap, leg over the shoulder, crossing up and extending for that finish. The next thing we did was go semi-live so that she can start practicing these moves with some live resistance. Here she's got that crossface and she's forcing the arm up using her legs driving off, trying to get her head to the outside of the body. She kicks off and rolls my hip over, shoots inside of her own gi. Now she needs to slide her left knee up first. There it is. Now she slid the left knee up, right leg goes over the body or shin into the ribs, either or, and you sit like back into a chair and extend for that finish. Here we go again with resistance. She's choosing which move she wants to do here for mount, whether it's the Ezekiel that we went over, the arm in Ezekiel, doesn't matter to me. Here she goes for the Ezekiel. She starts off with good crossface and head pressure. She has the underhook here, and I start giving her some heavier resistance on this underhook, so she releases and goes to the Ezekiel. Such a perfect combo. Again, we're starting in mount and we're letting her work. Give her a little pep talk and then we get going. Working from this position, she starts off with that heavy crossface and she gets her head to the outside. Now I start turning away a little bit to defend. She slides her knee high and throws her leg over the body. She released on the Ezekiel, but she transferred to the armbar just like she should. Very good. Because she already had her knee high up in my armpit, it's very easy to transition between Ezekiel's, armbars, back takes. You need your moves to flow from one move to the next. Everything should be sequential.
Got to do this, and I was like, oh, well, so we're here now.
Yeah, that's what we're working on.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Because again, this happens a lot, and I just sort of feel when I'm in mount, not focus, don't touch the ground.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter as much. Like,
No, so I've actually fought people with both my knees on the ground on them. So like the 350-pound dude that's just got like a huge gut or whatever. The goal is to have your knees pinched, obviously. Like, if I put my knees on the ground, what I'll do is I'll step on my toes and then put my knee as low as I can, and then I'll pinch like that, and then I'll kind of drive off my toes to, you know, work the arm up or do whatever. But yeah, if your knee doesn't touch, you need to try to still find some way to cause like a pinching pressure. And I'll do that by posting my foot and then kind of pinching my knee as I'm posting my toes. Like that. Just make your choking grip. Right, I'm doing this. Just make your grip under my hand. Doesn't matter. Make your supporting grip. Doesn't matter what the supporting grip is. It should label my shoulder across the ankles. That's it.
I love that.
And then go again. Like more resistance this time. Because you've got this down like this. Down this with your grip. Just a strong fist. Next. Yeah, throw it again. See?
I'm gonna do that so many times.
Good. Good. And that's, to me, that's kind of how it should be, is that your back should be your number one place to be. Go ahead.
So I want it to be the overhand that's routing.
Yes, the one that's over the shoulder is the one that's only the choking grip.
Yeah.
And then this one's the supporting grip. Yep, go ahead.
So does it work as well?
Yeah, see? It still works. Right. That's all it is, just getting your legs involved. Now pulling in, resisting, and then just shake. The second
So even if I fall, I can still do it.
The second that calf gets over my shoulder, you can start pinching your knees together and just doing this, and it just causes so much tension that I don't know what to do.
Sometimes I go, I'm like, I don't have core strength, so I'm just gonna lay here and try. But I like this, I feel like I don't need it.
Exactly, I do this to everyone. The second I get here, I'm just cutting a roll, and I just, yeah, it's good, it's strong.
I really like that.
There's not a lot to it. And again, you can do it with, you can grab this lapel and the other lapel and just extend both elbows straight, and then do the same thing. You just to the side and through your leg over the shoulder.
I really like that one.
Yeah, or you can go behind the head with your other hand. You can like go inside their knee and then under their arm behind their head. Extend from there.
What I've done before, and I don't know the name of this move, somebody showed me one time, I was like, that's not me. Was basically the toe call right here while I have your back, and then just push in your head.
So this is kind of like that. When you grab the cross collar, a lot of time, once I get this grip, I'm trying to like make a secondary grip. And usually this hand is becoming the choking collar. So this hand is like up here. Yeah, okay. Usually this hand is coming up and grabbing here in the choking collar. And yeah, this hand is just coming up to support. And as it comes up to support, I'll chop and then put it behind me. And then I'll bring my calf over. And just that alone, like you can feel how much tension once my calf comes over the shoulder, and I can start extending and crossing. Yeah, and I don't even have like a choke in, I can cause crazy pressure. So, again, that's why I just say like, it's just a choke, a supporting grip, and then getting, especially that top leg, involved somehow for pressure and power.
Yeah, I can definitely feel it get tighter.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like, maybe I wouldn't necessarily talk to that, but like a millimeter more of any kind of closure, I'm out.
Yes. Yeah, and that's just how it kind of goes.
Gosh.
Yeah.
What is that? Oh my coffee mask.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we want to touch us.
So, Ezekiel, some way of messing with the head, sliding up as high as you can once the grip is in. So usually, I didn't really say this, so when you grab the Ezekiel choke, usually I'm trying to get this arm to the far side of people's neck
Yeah.
to extend. But again, then the only way that I do the extension is by like leaning forward, sliding up, and then trying to like sit, like literally like full spine, full posture, extended hips, extended knees, and then shoulders back. And I do that with the choke in. I'll go here, and then I'm like this. I'm trying to pop up into this really high position. But it's that same principle. I just got the choking position, but I got the legs and hips involved because that's where the power comes from.
Question.
Yeah.
And it's related to Ezekiel, but not really what we're talking about. If I find myself in that position,
At the bottom
yeah, how do I get out of that? Can I get out of that?
of the Ezekiel, everything that I've ever done. I showed you one way once you're in closed guard.
Yeah, that was my mind.
Yeah.
Don't touch my back.
Yeah, so it depends. So everything when talking about defense, preemptive is always the best, right? If I can preemptively stop something, that's ideal. And there are certain positions where once they're fully into it, there is a point where it's like, okay, it's too late now. Like I can't stop this. Usually, when people start setting up the Ezekiel choke, my goal, as the bottom person, my goal is the bottom person, especially if they do it like you did initially. So if you do the regular Ezekiel without the power of this arm, as I see that happen, I usually start trying to lift this shoulder up, because what it does is you need this elbow to be a certain length low so that your hand can come across my throat, right? Yeah, exactly. So now go back. So the second I feel this, I'll shoot my arm up straight, and it preemptively makes it so that you actually can't get your elbow in. And then here I'll start looking to roll people. And now I'm trying to come under the arm that's the cross face. Right? So the arm that's over the neck, if you can pop your head under it, you're out of easy. Even if I have it locked up. So,
I feel like that last one, I don't know why people hate this one so much. But, because I always hear the joke.
it's demoralizing.
Getting out of your wrist lock right there, but when you lift that shoulder, I don't know, I was in a weird position.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but and then as a generic defense, like, you just sit right there. As I go here, this is the cross grip arm, and then this is the choke. If you focus on the choke, you're gonna tap the pressure. So what I want you to do is just post and pick my elbow up and just take your head down where my elbow's at. See? It's the same thing with the loop choke. When people think loop choke, it's like I go here and then it's like a guillotine grip, and then I have a supporting hand or the elbow. Yeah, you push the elbow. Yep, you push the elbow and you pop your head straight across.
Dude, it's like simple shit like that.
Yeah.
I never think about.
Yeah, obviously, it has to be done with resistance. It's like live and everything. You're gonna do a lot of pressure and force and everything. But that's what I'm aiming for. It's the goal there. As people go for that Ezekiel or that loop cell choke, I know that the arm that's actually behind my head is the threatening one, not the one choking me. Even though that's like counterintuitive to some
Yeah.
people.
Well, because it gives you that resistance or that pressure. It's
Yeah. So.
eliminate something.
Yes. So yeah. So if somebody is Ezekiel choking me, usually my initial focus, obviously, if you can like do like a bridge before they get it across, yeah. But or if you can prevent the hand from coming in at all, like that I showed you where I drew your arm up early. But if they start to get the arm in, the second the hand starts coming across, my next focus is getting that hand off the back of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. So even if we were in close guard, this is Ezekiel choke like this, your focus, that's the choking hit. Yes. Your focus is on this one. If you touch the choking hand and not extending it, it's not going to be enough. You can pry that elbow and it's crazy. And then the same thing in bottom out.
Yeah, because I always want to go for the one that's choking me.
Yeah. From here, I go like this. You can go really strong. You post on the elbow and take your head out that gas. That's where that comes from. And then you start timing, right? And I go here, and you have to roll me, and we roll. Now you know what's going to choke you. So and then you're popping up that back door.
And I gotta try to actually see somebody rolling. It's something I want to run.
What, trap and rolling people?
Yes, it's so hard. I get it every once in a while. Yes.
So then it was taught to me. Everyone usually teaches trap the same side arm, trap the same side foot, and then roll people. I don't ever trap people. Ever.
Really?
My focus is connection to you and bridging to my knees. That's it. That's all I think when I can trap and roll. So what I mean by that is, before I go over connection, what I mean by bridging to my knees is this. I post on my feet, I lift my hips up, but I turn my spine and my neck out of the way of where I'm going to roll. So I almost always trap and roll to my left. And it doesn't even matter if you know that. If we're scoring, I get trap and roll to the right. But that's because I'm so used to moving my spine out of the it, and then I bridge diagonally in this gap between my head and my shoulder. Bridge, and then I turn all the way to my knees, no matter what. It doesn't even matter if I lose the connection, I'm gonna turn to my knees. Because I need to make sure that I don't do a half-assed bridge or bump to try to roll you. That's the number one thing I see wrong. People will grab my wrist, and I'll even let them. I'm like, oh, I'll let you work. But they grab my wrist, and then they bump, and I go like this, because they bumped. And they didn't. Alright guys, in this section, the Muay Thai guys started class, so you can't really hear anything because of the background. Here we're going over the bridge and roll. The first thing I want to do is lift my hips up as high as I can, and then move my neck out of the way and bridge over my shoulder all the way to my knees. Right, I don't want my hips to ever touch the ground. Once they're up, they stay up, and I bridge all the way over into my knees. I'm on my toes the entire time, hips high. Now to show her to prove a point, I don't like to trap the foot. I need the power of that bridge, and I need to trap and have connection. Especially in the gi, you can just grab a cross grip on the wrist, and there's my connection, I'm done. To prove a point, I'm going to have her step up here and even plant her foot on the mat. As long as I bridge and turn all the way to my knees, it doesn't really matter that I don't have the foot trapped. I had good connection with her wrist and her shoulder, and then I just bridged all the way over to my knees. Now having her do the technique, usually we trap the foot like she's doing, and then you trap the wrist, and then you bridge over to the side. Again, the problem with this, sometimes it kills people's bridge, and it makes it so that it's not very effective. Also, I don't think trapping the arm on the same side of the neck is very effective. I like to trap it across the body if I can. If you trap it across the body, you can almost make them start the motion of doing a shoulder roll. To start a shoulder roll, you usually tuck your arm between your legs and then hit the finish for the shoulder roll. So if I can kind of cross their arm around their body near their far hip, it already starts that motion of that forward roll. Another reason I don't like bumping is if your partner has a grip and you bump them, all their weight goes forward and it can actually pin your own wrist down on the mat, and then they're going to start chasing your back or chasing the head and arm choke or whatever they want. So that's why I don't really like to bump. I'd prefer to hand fight and trap in front of me before I start bridging. Usually bumping I only do when their hands aren't connected to me and I'm looking to elbow escape. So she traps a cross grip on the wrist. Usually I trap the elbow or grab around the back or grab the waist. And then we turn all the way to our knees. There she goes, she committed to it, very good. If I do bump people, I like to do the one knee bump and guide their arm already across my body. And now as they try to posture back up, I can trap the wrist, and then I wrap around the waist, and then I hit that bridge and roll, right off the camera. Fast forward through this part real quick, I was just reiterating how to do that trap and roll power. And then here she asked about the grapevine, because she likes the grapevine, which means she's hooking her ankles and extending her body and dropping her hips. Here I like to point my knees to one direction, not the band, just in the same direction, and then I kick the leg that's on the outside out, stomp the heel, and now I'm ready to start looking for that elbow escape, because their hips are low and their weight is on their hips, not their knees. Here she asked to do some live rolls, and not just to let her win, but to let her work a little bit. So here we are, I'm pulling guard, she starts making some grips to start passing, she gets into half guard, I have the hook over the body and a butterfly hook, so this is a good time to hit a little butterfly sweep as she wraps the neck up. I kick the leg out, she sits back on the guillotine. I would have driven forward and tried to flatten me out there. I tell her to release the neck or she's going to regret her decisions. She did not, so I did the Von Fluke choke. Dropping my hip and my shoulder on the same side for that finish. We slap bump again, and we're back at it. This time she sits to guard, so I start driving towards her, trying to see what she's going to do. Starts looking for a loop choke, but I block it by lifting my arm up like I said earlier. She gets me in closed guard, and I have my arm kind of just hanging on the side, just waiting for the attack. Trying to figure out what she's going to do, she underhooks the arm. I believe here she said she didn't know what she usually does from this position, so I start teaching the arm crush. Gable grip, turn on the side, keeping my wrist pinned to her neck and getting her knee on top of my shoulder for that finish. Even though this wasn't the main topic of the private, when people get to positions that they just don't know what they're supposed to be doing when we do the live part of privates, I like to try to help people out. If they're not comfortable grabbing it on me when I'm not resisting at all, then they're definitely not going to be comfortable grabbing it on somebody when they're giving full resistance when they're sparring. We roll out of camera range here a little bit, so it's hard to see what's going on, so I'm just going to fast forward through this part too. We slap bump again, and I stand up to see what she's got. We hit that second slap bump. She grabs a double sleeve and a cross collar. I thought she was going to go for a tornado throw, and she went for the guard pull instead. Not a bad attempt on the armbar though. Here I drape my arm diagonally across her body and plant my hand on the mat. Usually this is a surefire sign to go for an armbar because it puts my own elbow so far out of position that it should be an easy armbar. She doesn't quite see it, so I start coaching her through it. Reaching over, grabbing the tricep, making sure I can't pull my elbow back down to my hip, and then start to cut an angle, put the foot on the hip, cut the angle, and look for that armbar. Again, when people are giving you submissions, they should be automatic. Yeah, there she goes. I start telling her to move that to that side as far as you can. Keep the arm trapped, move to the side, angle, angle. Easy armbar, very good. Same thing, when someone has their arm draped over your shoulder like this and you have this underhook, this should be a surefire way to hit that arm crush. So she should start, I can't talk. She should start shrimping on her side with that gable grip, shrimp, shrimp, and put her knee on my shoulder for the finish. There's a tap. So whether my arm is set diagonally across their body, which should be an easy armbar, or if it's set up on the same side shoulder, which should be an easy arm crush or underhook, these are things that if people aren't doing them live, regardless of what I've taught them for that day, I try to make sure that they get down. It feels like the first step to being good at submissions is just recognizing the position where your opponent kind of hands you the submission. If you're in close guard and somebody puts their hands on your throat and they're on top, that should be a very easy armbar because their arms are already extended. If they drape the arm over the shoulder trying to drive into you, it should be an easy arm crush. While we were talking, she said she had trouble finishing triangles, so I'm trying to show her my fat man way of doing triangles. This is how I usually try to submit people that have broader shoulders and a wide neck. Rather than trying to lock the traditional figure 4 by bringing the arm across, what I try to do is crush the head and lift my hips up in the air. And I chop across the neck like this with my legs and I recross them. I don't even lock the figure 4. This one is usually coming from the power of crushing the head, pinching your knees together and lifting your hips up. So here I pull my knees forward, I crush the head, I bite across the neck and I cross my ankles and I lift. And that tap comes on very quickly. Now we're here having her trying to do the triangle. I posture up. So the first thing I tell her is the gap between her hips and my neck needs to be closed off somehow. So whether that's lifting her hips up to my neck and climbing, or pulling my head down and then lifting her hips up a little bit and rebiting on the neck, it doesn't matter, but she needs to close that gap off. So after some short pep talking, she bites on the neck, pulls my neck down, lifts her hips up a little, and she has to rebite with the choking leg. Bite it across my neck a little bit. There it is, now it's across, crosses the ankles, squeezes and hips up. After some short coaching, we go over it again. Bite on the neck, squeeze and hip up even though it's not a full figure 4. She started asking about how I take my arm bars from standing, and what I like to do is make a grip and walk away from my opponent and let them fall into my foot. As I start slowly leaning away and then throw my foot up for that arm bar, what it does is it drags their weight forward so that they overcommit their arm to me so that I can adjust for the arm bar. What I don't want to do is sit directly down with no momentum and then they just base out and now they're still standing and I'm on the ground. So going over this one more time, especially when they have a cross grip, I start walking away, and then once my right foot comes off the mat, I never put it back down, and it just walks me into the armbar. Time to have her do it, especially when people cross grip you. She starts leaning away, and then she picks her right foot up off the mat. After a step with her left foot, right foot comes off the mat, and it can never place again. Right here when she picks her right foot up, yes, she swings into the armbar, and that's how the momentum drags me forwards. Here I'm talking about using momentum to pull guard. If I start kind of running away while I have a grip, they have to follow me, and then when they base out to follow so they don't fall down, that's a good time to start pulling my foot up to their hip and dropping to guard. Rather than just picking my foot up standing in front of them and having them pass my guard as they grab my pant leg, I like to cause an off balance by moving, whether it's in a circle or diagonally away from my opponent to start that guard pull. I usually start this sequence with a cross step, and then I pick that foot up, and that's what makes me start moving forwards. As we reset, we're back to standing again, and she starts making her grips. See right there? She just jumped to guard, and that's what I was talking about. If I wanted to, I would have grabbed the leg and passed easily because I have my balance and I have my base. So here I slowly guard pass, moving into mount, double butterfly hooks for mount to show how it works. I set up the cross grip and she bridges all the way over to her knees just like I showed her. Very good. I told her to release my collar here and close guard because this is where I either chase the back, get sweeps, or take the arm bar. After a couple more words are exchanged here, we start going again. We slap bump and we're starting in half guard. She turns and fights for the underhook and gets low for the legs like she should, doing a very good job. She wrestles the corner and starts looking to pass. She has the underhook and she starts prying the arm up in half guard and starts setting up the head and arm choke. I start defending so that we can work what we worked in the private, as she comes off to the side and drives me up on my hip. She sneaks in the arm in Ezekiel, slides the knee up, throws the leg over the body, and leans for the finish. That tap comes quickly when you use your legs. She was also surprised at how quickly the tap came. After a slap bump, we're starting standing again, and I showed her the power of that guard pull into an ankle pick. She had to step really heavy on her foot to stop being thrown over the top, so it's an easy ankle pick for me. Again here, I'm in her guard, placing my hand over her shoulder, trying to show her that it's like a preemptive thing to start hitting arm crushes. She catches on and bites on the gable grip and then gets her knee over my shoulder and starts crunching for that finish. We slap bump and we're back at it. She has collar sleeve and starts snapping me a little bit, trying to off balance me, and I'm just trying to see what she's doing. Start playing a little judo by trying to off balance her. And I expose my back a little bit, expose the front, and she just leans in for the hip toss and does very well on it. Unfortunately, we roll out of camera range again, so I'm just going to speed through this part. We slap bump and we're back at it. She makes a grip, I make a grip, she has that collar sleeve again. Start reaching for a leg. She does a good snap into a double leg here. Pulls backwards and then drive forward for the finish. Unfortunately, the double leg was so powerful she blasted me right out of camera range. So we're going to speed through this part too. We're back to standing and she makes the collar and the sleeve again. She snaps and pulls me backwards, right into that double leg again. Beautiful technique. She starts sliding up into the mount back area, and I start exposing myself trying to see what she's going to do. If it wasn't for the wall, she could easily slide her right knee up as high as she can. Oh, she still does it. She steps up and sits back into the chair and starts looking to take the back. She already laced the choke in while we were there, so all she had to do was throw the leg over the shoulder for the finish. The timer goes off, so we grab some water, so I'm just going to speed through this part too. After some talking, we get right back to it. We both make our grips. I'm looking to do little trips. I grab the belt. She loads for another hip toss, but she got scared. If you're going to go for the hip toss, you've got to commit by rolling that far shoulder all the way forward. She decides to pick up a single leg by grabbing the belt and the leg and driving down for the finish. She starts climbing up into mount with an underhook and a crossface. I showed her how to counter this crossface by putting your hand behind your head and then bridging over the side. After the roll, she still has the Ezekiel choke laced up, and I'm trying to tell her to find some way to get her legs involved to extend me away. If your arms aren't strong enough, keep the Ezekiel and use your legs. So here I tell her to reset even though we're out of camera a little bit. She resets in the Ezekiel, and then I'm telling her to walk her legs up the body any way she can, whether it's just the knee, the foot on the hip. She needs to try to push me away and get me away to extend for the finish. Here she gets the leg over the shoulder and starts extending, and then I tap. So whether the feet go to the hips or butterfly hooks or whatever, you need to find some way to cause pressure, just like I was saying earlier in the video. Speed through some talking and some coaching, and then we're right back at it. She hits a little Toriando pass and ends up in side control and steps over into mount. She starts putting on some serious pressure with the back of her head and her crossface to lace up this Ezekiel choke that we've been working on. Once she has it laced up, she slides her knees a little higher and starts extending, and there's that finish. We slap up again and then we're back at it. I'm playing what's known as a lazy guard here. She does a little leg drag Toriando, and she ends up in north-south. She comes back to side control, puts in a crossface, but she doesn't win the underhook, so I start wrestling up. I leave my arm in the underhook so that she can start working off this overhook. Whether she goes omoplata, triangle, armbar, she decides to give it up and just grab the shoulder clamp because we worked on it earlier. If it works, right? We slap bump again and we're going. She sets a heavy cross collar grip, so I start defending by pushing the supporting hand off me and not allowing her to get the supporting arm and using my head as a defense. Showing her that when you make a choking grip, it's usually not the choking grip that's the threat, it's the supporting grip. I start passing her on the outside slowly, and we end up off camera. Genius. I'm sure she taps me a couple more times here, but since we're off camera, we're not going to show it. I believe I showed her something about ankle locks, but again, none of that was on camera. Guys, this was a free private for her, and it was a free private here posted on YouTube. I'm trying to find what the best type of content is to get the most views and get the most out of the content for you guys. The end goal here is just to keep teaching jiu-jitsu forever and spread as much knowledge as I can. So let me know, guys, in the comments what you guys prefer for the type of video that you like, whether it's a YouTube short, whether it's a long private like this, maybe classes, maybe rolling. You guys got to let me know, though, so I can find out. Till next time, let's get it.